Welcome back, everyone. Let's jump right on in to part 2 of my houseplant tour. Let's move on over into this little corner. Really quickly, just since I filmed the first part of my tour a couple days ago, check out this new Melanochrysum verrucosum leaf. So pretty, and there's already another one poking up out. Yay, I'm so excited! Gloriosum back here is taking her sweet time. And also, my new Syngonium chiapince, I discovered a new leaf already poking out. So I really thought this plant would take a while to acclimate to my home before it would start actually growing, but it seems to be pretty happy over here. That's pretty cool. So let's start up here on this shelf. There's my beautiful Philodendron melanochrysum, growing nicely. Cannot wait until this plant is huge. Those leaves get me. This is the little begonia red planet that I got from Hertz. And a couple days after unboxing, I did notice a lot of the larger leaves were turning kind of crispy, so I removed those, kind of like that one. But the new growth seems to be okay. It doesn't seem to be affected, so there's a disgusting gnat hanging out on the name tag. Here we have my little ZZ Raven that does absolutely nothing. Nothing at all. This is the Begonia Bethlehem Star that I also received from Hertz. It's doing okay. I'm not really sure. It's doing alright. It's not dead, so. This guy, this is my sad calathea white fusion. This one was also affected by those issues, and I lost so many leaves. I really thought this one was going to die with my orbifolia. But believe it or not, it's making a comeback. This is a new leaf right here. And if you can see, there's a new growth point right here. And there's another new leaf coming in right here. So I think it's going to be alright. I don't know. It's getting a ton of humidity over here. So I think it's enjoying that. This is my original Alocasia amazonica that lost all of its leaves. This is the first and only new leaf it ever gave me, and that's the last remaining leaf. Still isn't doing anything. I struggle with this plant, no idea why. Here's one of my Aglaonemas, doing good. So in this little area, we have some begonia. So let's start with this one. This is the begonia that I received last week from the potted elephant. So cute. It's doing really well. It's got lots of new little growth points. It shipped so well. I'm still kind of in shock about it. And guys, I normally take turns with my begonias just so all of them get a little extra love once in a while, a little extra boost of humidity, and they seem to really like that. They're all growing really well. Here's my second Alocasia amazonica, because as if I hadn't had enough when this one decided to flop on me, pretty much, I decided to give another one a go. And this one has never put off a single new leaf for me either. And it honestly just continues to drop leaves. It hasn't dropped a leaf in a little while, but I have lost several. I had it over here in the window getting more light, and the leaf started to kind of get a little bit crispy. So I'm not sure if that was from a draft or something coming in from my window. But that's why it's kind of back here now, and if this one goes, I will not be getting another one. It's just really weird because all of my other alocasia do well for me, and the Amazonica is supposed to be one of the more easy going alocasia, but in my experience it's been the opposite. It's kind of the most difficult for me. So this is one of my loves, my Philodendron Deja Vu that I talk about all the time. This is his newest leaf. I love this plant so much, guys. That's a pretty new leaf. He's just getting so tall and crazy, and I really just appreciate how well he grows for me. He doesn't need a lot of light, and he's really cool. He's a cool dude. And here's another plant that I also rave about quite often. This is my Syngonium white butterfly, which is doing great, living his best life over here, drama free. Down here we have my Philodendron Moonlight, which is also drama free and doing really well. I'm really into these upright philodendrons lately. I don't know, they just do really well and they grow really fast, so I can definitely appreciate that. Here's his newest leaf unfurling. There's another little one down in the stem about to come out. This begonia is very dry, but this is my special angel, and she typically sets up here more often than the other two, which she loves. So you can see all of those new leaves coming in. I really adore this begonia. She's pretty great. And then here's my begonia Pink Flamingo, which has just been blooming non-stop since the summer, really. And one of my subscribers actually let me know that these begonia produce male and female blooms, which is very interesting to me. I had no idea that that was even a thing. So I started paying more attention when she would stop blooming and then restart, and the blooms were a little bit different. You could definitely tell a difference in them. So that's just a really interesting little fact about begonia blooms. This plant has struggled, all of my begonias have struggled with the powdery mildew over the summer, and I've had to cut them back quite a bit, but I just treat them with my mildew cure and that seems to take care of it right away. And this one's recently started growing since it finally decided it was done blooming. Look at all those new little leaves. And there's tons of little growth points coming out everywhere too. We have an older leaf that's a little bit crispy. But for the most part, she looks beautiful, and I love her. I don't actually have the Begonia maculata whitey. That's one that I've wanted for a really long time. And this one kind of reminded me of the maculata, only the backs of the leaves aren't red, but it is still very beautiful and I do love it. So maybe I'll acquire the maculata this year, who knows. So let's move on over here to my Philodendron Prince of Orange. Doing really well also. There's his newest leaf, and then as we can see here, he's unfurling another leaf. I love how dark red, it's like a blood orange red almost. These leaves come in and then they fade to kind of this and then on out to green, but they keep kind of like that red vein in the middle. And they also have those red stems. It's just so beautiful. And then we have another leaf poking out right here. Love him. So this right here is a western window, a little bit northwestern actually. And up here hanging in this macrame we have my original pothos. She is an OG. I've had her for quite a long time. Whenever I got her, she was not even spilling out of her pot. She was just a little thing. She's just put off these very long, very pretty vines for me. And I could propagate her and make another plant because she is kind of intrusive. She's like invading on all of these other plants, but I honestly just love the look of it so much. If you want to really gain that jungle vibe to your home, definitely get you some pothos and hang up. They're great and they're beautiful. As we can tell, she doesn't have a whole lot of variegation on her leaves just because she's not getting a whole lot of light. You'll see neither one of my golden pothos are very golden, but I don't mind at all. She's so pretty. So here we have the one and only Dischidia that I can keep alive apparently. Whenever I got this plant, it was really overwatered. I got it from a Lowe's. I kind of had to nurse her back to health, but she's really enjoying the grow lights, I think. She's putting off lots of new growth and she's recovering pretty well. Whenever I water this plant, I don't water it much, and whenever I do, I wait until the leaves get kind of wrinkly up near the center of the pot. And then I'll just take her in my shower and water her thoroughly, and then I hang her up in the shower kind of like overnight to let her drain. I'll take this bottom tray off of the pot and let it drain, and then put it back on and bring her back out. She seems to do well that way. And if we move down here, we have my Ficus lyrata, or fiddle leaf fig. His name is Philip, and I love Philip. He's doing well. He's not as happy as he was over the summer. Over the summer, he was kind of just putting off new leaves every week or two, and he was really happy. But unfortunately, he's not getting as much light as he was, so he's kind of stopped growing for the time being, but he's still happy. He hasn't dropped any leaves, and he's just really beautiful. Now we're going to talk about the plants on this shelf here in my western window. So on the very top shelf, this is a Tradescanthia. You'll see this plant in part 3, I believe, of the tour, but where it's hanging, this poor guy gets caught in my blinds all the time, so pieces like this are constantly being ripped off. So I just have that kind of propagating to put back in the pot eventually. And this big guy right here, this is Big Al, and Big Al is an OG. He's been with me since the beginning. During the spring and summer, this guy, along with a few other of my plants, live outside, and they really love it. He grew so much over the spring and summer. It's kind of crazy. Whenever I got him, he was a tiny little plant for like $2.50. Put off so much growth. It's amazing. I love him. Every houseplant collector needs some type of aloe in their collection. So here we have one of my avocado trees. I started 3 of these from seed in water back in June, and 2 of them took off. 1 of them didn't, so I threw it out. But actually in December, so these were in water from June to December, and they were needing potted up pretty bad. Whenever I pulled them down early December to pot them up, I knocked off the vessel that the other seed was in, and it split the seed in half, so I had to throw it out. So this is the only one that made it that I still have, but it's doing good, and I'm pretty proud of this little avocado tree. It's my first time ever experimenting and growing avocado from seed, so hopefully he stays happy and continues to grow for me. And here we have my husband's bonsai, his one and only plant. Believe it or not, he actually picked this out. He really likes bonsais, which they are pretty cool. I obviously take care of it, but he claims it, I guess you could say. This plant gets ignored as well. It doesn't require much. It just kind of sits back, gets watered maybe once a month, and grows. This is my Scindapsus pictus baby that I propagated off my mother plant, which you will see in part 3. So cute. These were tiny little cuttings whenever I first rooted them and put them in this pot, and they've grown a lot. Such a beautiful plant. This is the only variety I have of the Scindapsus other than the Moonlight that is trying to root right now, but I really want like the Exotica and the Silver Satin, the Silvery Ann. I want them all because they're so pretty. Moving down to the second shelf, here we have my string of pearls. This is my second string of pearls. I killed my first one right off the bat, so I didn't know how to take care of it, and I overwatered it. This one's doing really well. I learned to just kind of leave my more succulent plants alone. And those black darts are actually her longest growth points from when I potted her up. just so I could kind of see and track her growth. She's grown quite a lot. She doesn't get a ton of light, or she would probably honestly be a lot bigger because I've had her since the summer, but she's really happy, so I'm happy. So I pulled this guy out. This is my little burro's tail or donkey's tail right here. He's really cute. And whenever I got him, he wasn't any taller than the rim of the pot. This is the pot he came in. I have never repotted him. So he's grown quite a lot also. He's so cute. Here's my Echeveria, and this plant has grown a ton. It's super leggy. It really probably needs cut back, but I don't know, I kind of like them whenever they get tall and crazy. It's very pretty, and then he has a little offshoot right here, a little baby. Back here is one of my cacti that's putting off a little baby right here. Here's my peanut cactus. I'm not sure the actual names of these guys, but this little cactus is so freaking cute. It's just so wonky and cool. I've never really seen anything like it. So I love him. He just hangs out back here and grows and puts off little babies, and he's really cool. And there's just another little tiny green cactus that hasn't really done much of anything since I brought it home. Here we have my 2 jade plants. This one was actually a rescue. So the people that used to live in the apartment building across from mine, everyone had to move out when fall came around because they're remodeling it. And this little plant was actually setting out on the porch in the cold. And it had been through a couple frosts. Nobody took it in, so I decided just to go over and save it. It's doing okay. This is a jade that I've had for a while. This plant's been through a lot. It had scale at one point, but it's doing okay now. It's a tough one for sure. Back here we have another variety of aloe, which is leaning towards my grow light at the moment. Here's another little cute succulent that's growing really wonky and crazy. Here's my Dieffenbachia reflector, which I also need to water. I really need to put this Dieffenbachia in a plastic pot because he's just such a thirsty little guy. I can't keep up with it. But he does have 2 new leaves coming out. He's really pretty. Here's a little string of pearls. This is from my first string of pearls. Just a tiny little piece I was able to save off of that plant. And I mean, I don't even know what I'm doing with it. I should just put it in here or something. I don't know. It's kind of pointless sitting there taking up space, but it's fine. Here's my little butt rock, Lithup. He's cute. He doesn't do literally anything, and I only give him water maybe twice a year. That's it, because I've been warned heavily not to overwater this plant. He's cute though. He reminds me of a hippo with his mouth open. Here's my sweet little string of turtles, or Peporomia prostrata, which, as we could see, she's in bloom right now. Now this plant wasn't getting nearly enough light until I put in this Bosley grow light. And so as you can see, a lot of her older leaves, the design on the shells is pretty faded. You can't really see it. They're mostly just green. But if you can see, the newer growth there is very dark, and it actually looks like the back of a turtle shell now. So I think it's really enjoying the grow light. Here's a sad little watermelon peperomia propagation. I am really struggling with these plants. I don't know why. New growth on that stem right there, but I'm telling you guys, I'm struggling with this plant. This beautiful little plant here is a Hoya that I actually cannot pronounce. This plant had tried to put off new leaves 2 different times now, and they would poke out and then just fall off, kind of shrivel up and fall off. Since I put in my grow light, this leaf right here is actually a new leaf, and it continued to grow. It didn't fall off, and it looks really pretty. I love it. So it's safe to say that Hoyas definitely like a lot of light. They need a lot of light in order to grow. Here we have my original string of hearts. This plant would honestly be wrapped up on the floor had I not propagated it so many times. It's just such a fast grower, but as you can see, the inside of the pot's really sparse. So the next time that I propagate, I will be filling the pot back up just to make it a little bit more full. Let's move down to this third shelf here. Start over here. So this is just another little succulent that I picked up because I thought it was really unique looking and pretty. It almost reminds me kind of like a flower. The way the leaves are stacked remind me of the petals on a flower. I don't know, I just thought it was really pretty with that lime green and the hot pink. This is my Peporomia Hope, and I love her. She's growing pretty good. She really likes those grow lights too, I think. See the new little baby leaves, and you can see how some of her stems are kind of standing tall now, reaching towards that light, where they used to kind of just lay down like this one. She's really pretty. Oh guys, as I mentioned, I'm having a really difficult time with my watermelon peperomias. This is the mother plant, and this plant had gotten so big, guys. Whenever I got it, it was really small, and it had finally was doing well, and it was putting off really large, round, beautiful leaves. And probably a month or so ago, I started noticing what I thought could be a form of scale forming on the back of the leaves. And I freaked out basically, and I took my tweezers and I just started scraping the backs of the leaves. And oh my gosh, this plant, a couple days later, whenever I checked on this plant, it looked terrible. Those leaves had all split. They were completely black, and it was awful. So I had to remove those leaves, and this is what I'm left with. Really unfortunate. There is some new growth in the pot, but I really don't know if I'm ever going to succeed at growing watermelon peperomia. Here's a little Echinopsis Dominoes cactus. He's really cute. And then here's something that I'm very sad about. This is a plant that I myself rotted on my own like a dummy. I overwatered it, and it had so many pretty leaves. It had a really nice root system. And yeah, I've just totally murdered this plant. So I'm currently attempting to reroot her in this sphagnum moss. I'm just now noticing this was her newest leaf before the rot occurred, and it was really healthy until now. I'm just noticing that black mark, which it could have been up too close against my light here. I'm not sure what's going on, so I'll have to inspect that a little bit better. Here are just two cute little succulents I got for like $1. I'm gonna be doing a little DIY project with these guys soon, but they're cute. They were really unusual, I thought. These aren't a variety of succulents I've really seen around a whole lot, so I thought they were pretty cool. Oh guys, I completely forgot to talk about this plant. If you've seen my most recent unboxing, I got another Rhaphidophora tetrasperma from Gabriella Plants, and that plant arrived to me in really good condition. It looked really nice. The only thing was that the leaves were completely covered in wet soil. I didn't think much about it. I cleaned the leaves up, and the following day, whenever I woke up and I was checking on my plants, I noticed that all of the leaves were turning black where the soil was on them. Like, so in the spots where the soil was, there was just black. Like, the leaves were just deteriorating. So over the course of the next couple days, all of the leaves ended up turning black and falling off, or, well, being removed, I should say, except for this one. So I did let Gabriella Plants know, and of course, being the wonderful company they are, they replaced the plant and they packaged it different. They said they're taking extra steps when it comes to packaging this specific plant just because its leaves are so delicate. So I actually just received this replacement Rhaphidophora today, and it was in the mail for 4 days once again. It was in the mail over the weekend. And when it arrived, it was packaged, I mean, they always package well, but it was packaged better, and there wasn't nearly as much soil on the leaves. There was a little bit, but not much at all, guys. So I guess in the next couple days we will see if this one has any stress or damage from shipping, but I'm happy. I mean, we have one leaf on this one, we have this plant, so even if a couple leaves make it on this one, I'll pop them together and it'll be fine. This one's actually bigger than this one even was, and this one has 2 fenestrated leaves instead of just the one. He's really cute. Guys, do you remember when I showed you guys and talked about how I was really struggling with my goldfish plant? Guess what? It's doing really good now. So obviously it's still kind of like laying down a bit. It's a little bit wonky, but this plant is so happy now. I don't know if it's because it's getting a little bit more light. I'm really not sure. It may be the grow lights. It's like in the grow lights, but look at this new growth. And this growth is actually standing. Yeah, it's just been growing really well. The leaves look really plump and shiny and healthy. So I'm really glad I didn't give up on this plant, because who knows, maybe one day it'll be happy enough to bloom for me. That would be really cool. But even if it doesn't, I'm really enjoying it now. I'm really excited that he's finally happy, because I didn't think it was going to happen. Back here we have my Monstera Adansonii narrow form that I was really struggling with for a while. But it seems to be doing a lot better now. There's a new leaf right there coming in. So yeah, he's doing good. I don't want to jinx it, but he seems to be okay. Back here is another little Rex begonia. Jason actually picked this one out. He's seen it in a Lowe's, and we were just kind of skimming over what they had, and he thought it was really cool because the leaves have like a shimmer to them. They almost look like they were painted with glitter. It's really pretty, so we brought it home. Here we have my parallel Peporomia that I recently unboxed from Hertz. And I have inspected this plant probably 200 times by now to make sure that there were no pests or spider mites or anything like that on it. And I can't find anything, so I finally felt comfortable enough to bring it back out with the rest of the plants. I think it's really thirsty right now, but otherwise it seems to be doing pretty good. And then in here are some things that we will talk about in an update video. But my pink princess is putting off a new leaf since I placed her in this Ziploc bag, guys. So that's exciting. Okay, now if we move on down to this shelf, we have my wonderful peace lily, who I love with all of my heart. I don't know what it is. I have 2 peace lilies and I love them both dearly. She's very vocal, so she tells me whenever she's thirsty, whenever she wants a drink, which I can really appreciate about a plant. She is a thirsty girl. She does need watered quite often. She's awesome, and she grows constantly. This is a new leaf right here. She's great. Truly beautiful plants, and she actually bloomed for me over the summer, which had me all kinds of excited. Both of my peace lilies did, matter of fact. This is my Fatsia japonica, a very low maintenance, easygoing plant. This plant actually gets bottom watered in this little tray, and it is vocal as well, so he will also let me know when he needs a water. He will wilt, and then about an hour after drinking up his water, he's perked right back up and ready to go. I honestly think this is a pretty underrated houseplant. I don't really hear or see it talked about too often. I love the leaves. It reminds me of like a maple tree or something. It's very pretty. It actually needs a water right now. As you can see, it's starting to droop a little bit. These leaves are getting massive. It's a beautiful plant. There's a variegated version of the Fatsia japonica. Maybe one day I will have it. This is my Dracana Florida Beauty. He's doing good, very leggy. Definitely getting a haircut this spring and propagated because he's just so leggy, it's crazy. Here is another one of my Aglaonemas, and this is one that I think had some bacterial issues going on. I'm really not sure. It was in quarantine with the rest of them. It was treated, but it was only like 1, maybe 2 leaves that were showing signs of the black leaf spot. So I quarantined it just in case. And I treated this plant one time and it was good. I never noticed any more damaged leaves or any spreading since then. But it's still not the happiest. It's been happier. I mean, it does have new growth coming in back here, but it was definitely happier before all those issues. There's new growth right here too. This is something else I guess we can talk about later. This is my Hoya Rebecca that is withering away. There's literally 2 leaves left. I've tried every way possible to propagate her and she just keeps rotting. So I think it's safe to say this plant's pretty well a goner, but I, being stubborn, refuse to give up on her. So and down here, all by its lonesome on this bottom shelf, is my neon pothos. This is a particularly slow grower, kind of like my marble queen. My marble queen's definitely a lot slower than this one, but this one's been pretty slow too. But it's fine, it's healthy. I really can't wait until it eventually trails for me one day. Probably could use some more light. Let's go ahead and talk about this beautiful girl. My Calathea zebrina that I was blown away with whenever I unboxed her. Because she was just so big and beautiful. So you guys know, I had this plant, I was raising it from a tiny little baby child that I got over the spring. It ended up getting the bacterial issues and just having a really sad, slow, painful death. So I did replace it and holy cow, it's huge. She's doing really, really well, and you guys may notice that she's a little bit droopy right now, and that is just because girl is dry. Look at that soil. She is so dry. So that is one thing I can say. The zebrina definitely dries out really fast. She's really thirsty. Whenever she's thirsty, she will let you know. Also, another thing that you want to be careful of, if you allow this plant to stay dry for too long, you will start to get crisping and damage on your leaves. They'll start to yellow and die off. So when I'm done filming, I will definitely be taking her in the bathroom and giving her a nice drink of water. So here is Miss Thing after her watering. If you can see the difference at all. There are a few leaves like this, I think I mentioned in another video, that are actually snapped. They were snapped in shipping. So those are the leaves that you'll see kind of drooping. It's crazy how much she will literally droop whenever she's thirsty compared to after you water her. We're gonna end this right here at 30 minutes. So there will be a part 3. We have my kitchen plant and I have another plant stand on the other side of the room that we'll go over. It's got most of my Hoyas, my Peperomias, and things like that. I will see you in part 3, guys. Thanks for watching. Bye.